May the sound of this bell penetrate deeply into the cosmos. In even the darkest places, may living beings hear it clearly, so that understanding comes to their hearts, and without hardship they may transcend the cycle of birth and death. Listening to the bell, I feel the afflictions in me beginning to dissolve. My mind becomes calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath guides me back to the safe island of mindfulness. In the garden of my heart, the flower of peace blooms beautifully. Let there be peace among all beings in the universe. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaskar, Namaskar. Welcome to Satsang today. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The whole earth is filled with your glory. Today I would like to talk about birth and death. So what we can see when we look deeply into the nature of ourselves is that the sense I comes from the heart, the pulsating rhythmic awareness of time that comes into play in the mind and the body and the world. All the senses come into play. And so because my heart beats, I know that I am. But before I am, there is only I. Yes? Shaman? In Plum Village, we're supposed to designate 2 minutes after getting out of a lotus to our legs. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, come in.
baby. Say hello to the humans.
Come here. Good boy. His name's Shaman. He's very cute. Hopefully he's just going to sit here and want pets. Otherwise, he's going to go back out. But, the original intention was to talk about birth and death. And what is important to realize is that I is the firstborn. Because before I, there is nothing. But when I am, what is I? I is consciousness. And this can be said with a capital I. It is the self. It is the pure self, which is consciousness, which is awareness, which is mindfulness. And so I think it could be said, I, consciousness, am aware of myself as mindfulness. And thus, sir? Sir! I'm so sorry. Sir! Alright, he knocked over Jesus. I have no option. Sir, I love you very much. But you must go. You are chaos. So, consciousness can be seen as the substratum upon which I exist. Because I exist. Existence. Existence, consciousness. Existence, consciousness, bliss. Existence, consciousness, bliss. And I can't ignore him. I just have to wait for it to stop. And so I emerge out of consciousness. Who is this I? I is me. And I would say that this is spelled with a lowercase I. This is the sense of I, individual, particular, body, association, identification, all of that, I. And I am my body. It is that thought. And so I am this body. And so this I is me. And when I say me, this me is coming from a deeper place. It's the true I. But the one who says me knows English, exists in the mind, is the ego, is the individual self, which is separate from, in the same way that the wave is separate from the ocean. Because consciousness is the ocean. Deep in meditation, we can feel sensations of oceanic bliss, of boundary dissolution. And what it is the space in which all things exist. Because what I want to say now is that consciousness is the manifestation of space. Because absolute void, there's nothing to say about it. It is nothing. There's no quality to it. But when there's this resonance quality, and it knows itself, it is consciousness. It's not dead, which is the assumption. Like, the universe itself is, we live in a dead, mechanical, unfolding universe. Yes. But I would say that that universe flows forth from the Dharma as the Tao. And I would say that that is a greater context in which the universe exists. And so the universe itself, in that way, is a living organism that's been alive for 13 some billion years. and exists within some space of consciousness. Otherwise, there would be no life, because you can see the unfolding of events of the Big Bang happened, and so there was chemical soup, and so there's gas clouds, and so stars condense, and so A, B, C, D, E. But you could also say that, and this is where we get into Terence McKenna. Hello, Uncle Terence. That there's some thing such as consciousness which needs to exist, and this could be in the form of some super sentient AI that has colonized the entire universe into a supercomputer or something like that. And so because that needs to happen, the Big Bang needs to happen, so it needs to become a star, and so Earth needs to happen, so life needs to happen. And because outside of time, because time exists, rhythmic pulsing of the heart, the mind, time is happening, I was born, I'm going to die, time. All this body, time. Everything takes place within time. But outside of time, because outside of this body, because this body is not me, I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundary. I have never been born, and I will never die. Look at the ocean and stars, manifestations of my wondrous mind. And this is the pure I. This is consciousness. This is life itself. And it's a regression backwards into void. And what you realize is that form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form. They are one and the same, because if you have a sheet of paper and you call this left and this right, I don't know how you're seeing this, but if you call it's actually, yeah. And if you call this left and this right, they're one sheet of paper, but you've called this one left and this one right. But if you want to say no, there's only left, this is the left sheet of paper, it doesn't exist, because if you take away the right, there's only a sheet of paper, at which point you can fold it in half and there's a left and a right. And so this is what I want to talk about, is the nature of the independent I. Is as soon as one exists, there's two exist, because there's the left and the right, and there's before and there's after. And also, when it exists, quote, it's not that it didn't exist before, it manifests. Because let's say you go to a field in April, let's say, and you look and there's no flowers. There's no flowers in this field. You assess, you've been there, definitely no flowers. I checked, I was looking for flowers, there were no flowers. Big sad, no flowers. And so, but then you come back in June or July and there's sunflowers everywhere. And you're like, where did the flowers come from? Well, they did not come from nowhere, my friend. They were already in the ground. They were already there. You just didn't see them. They were hiding. They were not manifest yet. They needed a few more conditions to become from seeds into flowers. But when they were touched by the sunshine and the water and the soil and the nutrients, they grew into beautiful flowers. And after the conditions have ripened, manifest, and time passes, and the conditions are no longer sufficient, this body of a flower will no longer exist. It will decay and it will die and become nourishment for the next generation of flowers. And that brings us beautifully back to the ocean. And there's the wave, the individual I. There's consciousness, and then I exist as something, the form of a wave, my body. And this wave is touched deeply by the sun, and it evaporates into a cloud. Now, in this scenario as well, you can see that I am not the cloud. I am the vast sky in which the cloud exists. There's no limit to the sky. And so storms can happen within the sky. It makes no difference to the sky. This is still consciousness. If anything, it's pure consciousness, because the ocean is condensed into water, and this is just air. But then outside of the atmosphere, it's not even air, it's just a vacuum. And so it's this utter emptiness, but emptiness is no other than form, form no other than emptiness. And so, back to the cloud. It's evaporated, the ocean has evaporated into a cloud. And so we cannot call this the birth of a cloud, because this is not a moment of birth. It is a moment of continuation, because originally it was the ocean, and then some motion happened in the ocean, and it became some whirlpools, some tides, some things, and some waves started to form. And so this water molecule was in this wave, and then the sun traveled from billions of light years, no, not billions of light years, millions of miles away, and it and then it excited this molecule, and it went up and it got caught in the flow of the atmosphere, and so there it is circling around, and it does it with billions of others of water molecules, and so they all become clouds. And if we look in ignorance, we will say that a cloud is born. But if we hold right view, then, which is that kind of view that does not see dualities, or sees beyond within dualities, it is that place in which all relationships take place. And since it preceded the relationship, since it preceded whatever happens, it can view and observes whatever happens perfectly clearly unbiased, because it sees the arrival and the arisal and subsequently the resolution of each individual phenomenon. And so the cloud is not born. It is, the water has continued from the ocean into the form of a wave, into the form of a cloud. And so now, when we look at when the cloud turns back into rain, we cannot say that the cloud has died. We cannot say, because to be born is from nothing I become something, and to die is from something I become nothing. And it has this cold murder quality, like, death, and but life is no other than breathing. And so death is just the cessation of breathing and activity. But I am not any given activity. I perform activity. Activity comes through and from me. And I just am. And there's this calmness which pervades the universe, because why wouldn't it? It's that space in which stars exist and are constantly exploding, planets crashing into each other, but it's all completely justified because it's in space. There's infinite amount of space, and none of it needs to happen. But here it is. It's happening. Here it is right now in this moment. It doesn't need to happen. Nothing needs to exist. The universe could have annihilated itself at the beginning, every positive and negative, nothing. But here we are. And you could call it a mistake. You could also call it luck. You could also call it grace. And so birth and death occur within consciousness. And so from the big I, a little I is born, a little me. And so here I am, and I exist. Because I doesn't exist. Because I don't need to exist. Why would I? You only need to exist if you want to have an experience or something such as this. And so let's say that there is a desire to have a certain type of experience. You want to sit atop a mountain. Well, first you need a body and a world in which a mountain exists. And with that body comes a mind and a heart. And with the world comes a society, structure, and nature, and all of these just coming together. And so it's all so interconnected, because all of it is I. Because let's say I am born and I'm a human, and then I die, and then my favorite animal was a falcon, and so God gives me the opportunity to become a falcon, and so I live as a falcon, and then I go off, and then let's say I want to be a dolphin, and so boom, I am a dolphin, and so I have my dolphin body. I have all my dolphin tendencies. I learn my dolphin language. I have a whole dolphin world. There's a whole little structured society. It's beautiful. And then let's say I want to go back and I want to be a turtle. Okay, and so now I have my shell. I'm a turtle. Woo-doo-loo-doo-loo. I'm being a turtle. Woo-doo-loo-doo-loo. I like turtles. Turtles are dope. And so let's say I want to be a deer, just peacefully asleep in the forest. Let's say I want to be a flower. I can be a flower. Say I want to be a bubble. I can be a bubble. Let's say I want to be a dragon. I can be a dragon. The imagination. And it's beautiful, wondrous, endless, free, within yourself, pure. And all of it takes place within consciousness, because otherwise I wouldn't know it exists. And if it doesn't exist for me, and I am the firstborn. To me, I am the firstborn, because before I, nothing exists. Absolutely nothing. What existed before you were born? The world continued. It was as it is, but you had no idea before you were born, because I am the primary datum of experience. I am that I am. And because I am, I can know that you are. But if I don't know that you are, you can be as you are, but I am unaffected. I have no idea. And so, birth and death take place within consciousness. Consciousness is the infinite space in which all things exist, and consciousness can be aware of itself in the form of mindfulness, which is existence, consciousness, bliss, which is the formation of an individual I. I am, I exist. And this am something. I am what? I am this body. And so arises this identification with the body. I breathe. I think. I talk. I observe. And all of it takes place within consciousness, because otherwise you wouldn't say that I do it. Because there are certain things, let's say that I have certain tics. I have a lot of tics, if you haven't noticed. So let's not talk about them. Dang it, they're gonna happen now. Okay, yeah, perfect example. Let's say I have a tic. This isn't me. This is my body. My body is doing this. There is a desire that arises in my thumb for a particular sensation, that repetitive sensation that is achieved by flicking all over again, which moves the elbow and the arm, and sometimes it happens in tandem with a different one where I just want to see something right here for no particular reason. I just want something to be in this part of my visual field, and so I'll randomly bring this, and I don't even realize I'm doing it, but other people see, what the heck is that guy doing? And like, I understand, but so there are certain things, my body does it, I observe it as I as consciousness, but it has nothing to do with me. I'm not affected by this. And so but the one who says me, as I said, knows English. It exists within the mind. It is a creation of the mind. It is my ego. But ego isn't necessarily, I don't use this like Freudian ego. It's more like just the sense that I exist. But I exist because I don't have to exist. I am completely free. I am consciousness. But if I think I am consciousness, then my body is the body of consciousness. I am the Dharma. I have the Dharmakaya. And so I am. And the one who knows that I am is aware of I am. And you can see in this way, nothing is good or bad. Because everything exists within consciousness as consciousness. It is only the relationship that one forms to these things that can be seen as good or bad. Because these things exist on their own. Because consciousness doesn't exist, but it wants to exist in a particular form. So I am a flower. There's nothing wrong with a flower. In fact, this flower wants to have thorns. There's nothing wrong with thorns until I touch the thorns, and thorns causes me pain and suffering. And but then that's a relationship. That thorn had nothing. That's not bad. It's just And I can see that, and I decided to walk through the forest. I knew that there were thorns. Here's a thorn. Pricked my finger. I'm not dead. I'm fine. I'm going to live on. But the big kicker is that birth and death take place within consciousness. How do I know? Because wake and sleep take place within consciousness. When I am awake in this world, I know that I'm awake, and I know that these things are real. I can perform experiments that exist separate from me. Woodles, this body is me, and this air is not me. And so when I go into a dream, I can do the same things, except sometimes I can just randomly open up holes in the wall and walk through into a different place where there's a big ocean, and where did this come from? And now I'm in a different dream, but it's all the same dream. And all of it arises from within the consciousness. And when there is no dream and there's just very, very deep sleep, there's no sense of I. I don't feel like I am here in deep sleep existing. Yes, this is pleasant. No, it is only upon waking up that I say, I had a good dream. Like, I didn't have a good dream. I had a good sleep. I had a very good night's rest. I feel refreshed. And this feeling of now I feel refreshed, Papaji says that, and this is the other aspect of birth and death that I wanted to talk about, because the birth of something is actually the arising of a desire. Because when I want or when I suffer, I know that I exist. Otherwise, I don't have to exist. There's no particular reason. My body is here, yeah, but there is no I. And if you look for the I, like, look, who am I? Who asked the question? To whom does this thought arise? Who's this? Who's this I? It doesn't exist. It's like trying to find the mind. The mind is no other than thoughts. It's just thought. Where did the thought come from? The mind. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, because it didn't come from me. It came from my mind. It came from my body, which I have because I want something. I want to enjoy life, because life is beautiful. Life is wondrous. But it doesn't have to happen. It's a mistake. It's grace. And so it's always brought back to this stillness. And that is consciousness. And that is what I am, really. Not who I think I am, because that's the mind. Who I really am is this space. And so I was never born, because this space, I don't exist. This body exists. I don't exist. But if I want something, I need something. I believe that I am this thing, in fact, and so I need it because there's this sensation of separation from this thing which I believe that I am. I know that I exist in that scenario. And if I am suffering, I know that I exist because there's just pain in my leg. It won't go away. It's just, I know that I exist. There is no denying that, because this pain is here, and I am here to perceive this pain. I am here to perceive. I am here. I am here. But I think I'm here, because the one who is thinking is here. I am here. And here's the pain. And it all takes place within consciousness. It is all observed by I. And so when the cloud turns into rain and falls back into the river and guides itself back to the ocean, or when it becomes nourishment for a flower or a tree, and that tree produces a fruit which contains a seed, which grows a tree, which produces a fruit which contains a seed, and it is eaten, and it grows a tree, produces a fruit. That fruit is eaten by a deer, which, remember, I am a flower, I am a deer, I am all of these things, because I is just pure consciousness. And this world is the imagination of the mind. The ocean and the stars in the sky, wondrous All of this world is my mind, because it is something that happens. Everything comes and goes. There's something that doesn't come and go, and that is I, that is consciousness, because it's the substratum on which all things exist for me. Because for you, yours is you. It's yourself. It's your consciousness. For mine is entangled with Jesus. It is, I come from God the Father. I know I do. Like, it's no like, I am the Messiah. All created things come from God. I am created. This is, there's no question in it for me. And it's just this stillness, this peace, this love. Because your heart is beating. And when you go inward, because at first you're like, I'm meditating. I am the one meditating. And you're in this body. But then there's the observation that comes from within of this body that is meditating. And that, when you sit with it, brings you back to your breath. And your breath brings you back to your heart. And when I am synonymous with the heart, the body and the world and the mind are all one. They are separate from what I am. And they can be observed. You can lay down as though you're going to sleep. And you can basically fall asleep. And you'll watch your body fall asleep. And sadly, I cannot take this all the way into lucid dreaming. I'd love to, but yeah, there's just sleep. I can see the colors start to form. I like the different patterns of energy, and it is, I'm gone. Takes me with it every time. So, but yeah, you can watch the body fall asleep, and then certain things will arise. And like, for example, I have a girlfriend, and so we sleep together. And so if I'm laying down, I can like watch her become conscious just slightly, and her eyes won't open, but it's like she'll just become conscious, move something, go back to sleep. Become conscious, do something, go back to sleep. And I know that I'm doing the same thing. And so, meow! Meow! I love him. I have 3 cats, by the way. He's the only one you hear because he's the most needy. And it all takes place within consciousness. And the reason I keep coming back to that is because death doesn't exist, because birth doesn't exist. It's all just continuation. It is the process of life. And this is where I want to introduce you to who you are. This is just one of my favorite things. His big thing is the invitation to freedom. This is my biggest thing, like who you are in this sense, which is that, well, the story that's attached to it, which is that 13 billion years ago, the Big Bang occurred. The Big Bang, there was a split second of like chemical soup, which turned into like all these atoms and then spread out because of the expansion of the universe, and then they would form because of gravitational patterns into these gas clouds, and which would condense into stars. And in the core and the center of these stars would occur fusion, which takes simpler molecules and creates new, more complex molecules. And so in the heart of these stars, fusion is occurring. And so when they explode and when they're always dissipating anyway, it's radiating anyway, it's just being projected out into the universe. And so and that already, you can see it's life itself. Because what is life? Well, you eat food. What is food? Biomatter. Food is something that was once alive and died so that you could eat it, and then you're going to die so that you can be decomposed by the fungi and the worms back into soil so that you can grow into plants so that animals can eat. And which really, from that perspective, you can see that animals only exist to spread plant seeds around because they hijacked our minds. And so the formation of stars, it's the same basic thing. If there is something that consumes itself to exist and then dissipates, back in so that other of itself can consume itself, so that it can continue to exist, so it can dissipate, and it's this process of birth and death, samsara. And so formation of stars explodes, and so then we have these, like, all these galaxies and stuff starts to form. And so there's the Milky Way galaxy, and within the Milky Way galaxy there is a solar system with a sun and 7, 8, 9 planets. I say that because it's like, it's arbitrary, because there's also like comets. There's a bunch of stuff in a solar system besides planets, but focusing on the third planet from the sun, there is one called Earth that exists in the Goldilocks zone, and for some reasons, probably comets, it has a bunch of water on it. And so it has oceans worth of water. It's in the Goldilocks zone of its sun. Its sun is actually a surprisingly stable sun that's not going to die within a couple billion years. And so this process of life starts to form out of the complex chemistry in the ocean. And at first it's just single-celled organisms for like 1 billion years or something crazy like that. And then finally they become multicellular organisms. And so then this process starts to occur, and then all the way until you get the Cambrian explosion, which is like the origin of life on Earth. Basically, it's just like life just started happening in the ocean, and you go from the Cambrian explosion all the way up until you get land mammals and things that can fly and such like that. And then you get all the way from there till you get dinosaurs. And then you have the millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of years. Mind you, humans haven't existed for like but a few 100,000. Hundreds of millions of years occurred already happened. Dinosaurs. And then nothing larger than a chicken and a rat survived. And so you follow this little rat mammal creature. You watch all the way until it evolves, and think of the slow pace of evolution, all the way up until it evolves into a bipedal hominid. And then from the time it takes to get from a bipedal hominid to a Homo sapien with the Homo sapien brain, and then from there you get basic agriculture, and you go from hunter-gathering to agriculture and basic society and all of that. And for how long did we spend in that? And just considering like shamanism and tribalism, and how many generations came and went of that stuff. And then you have the basic society structures, and then you have the kings and the queens, and you have all of this, and then unfold all of human history. And then look at this moment right now. You are that. Because you are life itself. Because I am consciousness, and you and I are one. Because consciousness is that place in which all relationships take place. All separation occurs within consciousness. Left and right occur on the sheet of paper. Without left, there is no right, and without right, there is no left. Because if you take away one from the other, there is only sheet of paper. There is only consciousness. Good consciousness, bad consciousness. Mind consciousness, heart consciousness, body, world. Separation exists within consciousness. And so as consciousness, I am life itself. I am that which drew the universe forth out of non-being into being. And we can see that there is no being and non-being. There's only manifest in this way and non-manifest in this way, so that I can manifest in another way. And at this moment, I would like to say back to, as soon as one exists, two exist, to the left and to the right. There is only the present moment, which has no time. And within that, time occurs because there's the present moment, there's the past moment, and there's the future moment. Because as I speak, the present is always happening, especially if you listen to a metronome, you know, like, it's just a constant flow of time. And so it doesn't change, it just is as it is. And so Time takes place within consciousness. Birth and death take place within consciousness. The only difference between this thing and that thing is its relation to me, I. Because otherwise, it's all just one happening. It's all just the universe. But I think that I am a person, and so I think that this is a Tibetan singing bowl. But this isn't busy being a Tibetan singing bowl. It just rings. And it doesn't call it ringing. It just... And so everything is as it is. And in that, you can see that I am life itself. I am no other than life, because where is the source of I? The heart, the beating heart, which is out of my control, the one who thinks, the one who I think I am, Jacob, has nothing to do with anything. Because here I am, eternally the self. My heart is beating, I am breathing, I am alive. I am an expression of life itself. This body, I didn't put together its molecules, but here it is. The DNA uncoded itself as me, and it's not you, it's not Sarah, it's not Jason, it's not somebody else. It is I. But also, I didn't even know why I said Sarah and Jason. Those are my parents' names. So, it is Sarah and it is Jason. But this isn't. This is me. This is different. This is the coming together of the two into the one. And then, obviously, it continues when I and my girlfriend become husband and wife, and then we unite into the one, have our own child. They are not me. I'm in them, the Father is in me. It's eternally, but I cannot possess that. There's no credulity. It's a word in the Dhammapada. Credulity. He who is free from credulity and yet knows the uncreated, something like that. But I'm the only one that is like me, and I like, because I am the only one with these life experiences. But also, these life experiences belong to me. They are not me. I am life itself. I am life without boundary. I have never been born, I will never die. That is synonymous with consciousness. And I'm saying this repetitiously just so it'll sink in, because it took me freaking forever to get this. And I finally feel where I'm at a point where I feel comfortable talking about it. Like, not that I have an authority over the subject, but I know what I'm talking about because I've thought about it for so long. And it's not the thinking about it. The emphasis is on the so long of I've marinated in this. I've steeped myself in it. I've put in the work, and it's not about me putting in the work. It's about God's grace. But God is gracious. God is willing as long as I am willing, and I am willing, and so God is willing. And because I have this relationship with Jesus, I'm able to learn all of these beautiful things. And I can venture into reincarnation, and I can go out and explore the most wondrous things. And because that's me as a person, that's me as a human. But I am not my person. My person belongs to me. And because of that, I am free. And because I have this, Jesus loves me. He loves you. And what that means is that there is no division between anything. There is nothing that can separate it. There is this love that radiates off of Jesus. And when I turn my attention towards him, it brings that attention if you understand, if you meditate, it's like this all the time. You're just absolute oneness, nothing exists. And so you're just meditating, and then someone comes up to you, and then they create you. They think that you are Jacob, and you know that they think that you're Jacob. And so you have to be Jacob talking to them. And that's what it's like when you go to Jesus. And it's just this love and this freedom. And because it's freedom from slavery is what it feels like. That's genuinely what it feels like, because I feel like I'm a slave to my desires. I feel like without the grace of discipline, which I see as a form that Jesus has graced me, I'm a sinner, and it's inevitable, and I experience it. I know what that's like who I am as a sinner. It's not a good feeling. I don't want to be that guy. And so I have, and I don't mean to like dwell on this for your sake, but for my sake, it's beautiful. It's just, because I just want to bring all glory to God. It has nothing to do with me. And because I have that understanding is why I feel that I am able to speak on the subject, because it has nothing to do with me. It's just is as it is, and I'm trying to understand it. I've been trying to understand it for so long that the trying tries itself. It's just, there's no escaping it at this point. It's just my existence. I am consciousness. There's nothing else that exists, and everything occurs within me, and the implications of that, good and bad, and understanding that good and bad both arise out of my understanding of the universe, and it's all conditioning, but at the same time it's all free will, and it's that balance of duality which is the present moment, which is the only thing that separates the past from the future, which is the only thing that separates from this from that, is I, where it exists in relation to me, because this is me and that is you. But if there is no me, then there is no you. And because of that, you are free. Because what you find is that you don't want to kill anybody. And now for you, that thought probably came out of nowhere, but remembering that I am a sinner, you're still not going to kill anybody. You are not dangerous. You can be. Conditions can change. Everything is changeful. But you're not. You know you're not. It's not even a question. It's just you have some belief that I am a sinner and therefore I'm terrible, and what's the worst thing? Murder. Okay, I'm a murderer. And like that whole thought comes out of the mind. And it doesn't even really occur unless I want it to occur. I make it occur for the sake of this demonstration. But I'm not going to hurt anybody. And you know that. And because when you are consciousness, saying this for thousands of billions of trillions of... The universe has already been going on for 13 billion years. This is just another... and right now is the moment right before AI explodes and we get to travel the universe and we get to alter our genetic code and we get to all these promises that come with the future, which I do believe are genuine promises, so long as we don't blow ourselves up. But that's the only thing that separates the past from the future, is now. This from that is I. Otherwise, because I am here is the feeling of I am here, is the feeling that I exist. Because there's I, which is consciousness, am existing here in this place. Now, time. And all of these things are, like, they're implicit. They're not separate. They are, because here, eternally here. Here. I can never leave here. No matter where I go, I'm always here. Now. When is now? Yesterday it was now. Tomorrow it will be now. Now is now. Now. When could I ever get out of now? And then I. Who else could I be? I. Even if I'm a dog, I am I. Even if I am, I am. And so, I am here now. Am. Am is synonymous with be, being. Be as you are. I am. Hallowed be thy name. Form is no other than emptiness. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. birth and death take place within consciousness. Because from the time I said thank you, when I rung the bell, and then the birth of Jnani, and the awareness within me, open my eyes, smile, come into the world, go back into the self, stay with the source, subsiding. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. On, off, on, off, on, off. Now for you, the universe did just go away. Not really, because now you're just in your moment. But the universe didn't go away. Just because I turned off the lights. Turn it back on. Nothing's changed. Everything can change. Everything can change. Because everything is a formation of things. Because a thing is a manifestation. Because there is no birth, no death. Therefore, there are no things. There are only, because this body is not one thing. There's hair, there's eyes, there's skin, there's organs, there is all of this separate. One, but separate. And so, working in tangent and harmony. And because of that, I cannot refer to myself as this. I cannot refer to this as one thing. It is several things. There's my fingers, my hands, my arms. But it's all one happening. And all of the universe is like that. Every single thing is like that. And so, because everything is changing, because everything exists, we can see it as existing. And because of that, it was born and it will die. We know that nothing is ever born and nothing will ever die, because energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. And so you came, as you came, you will go. And that's just how it is. But you never left, because everything takes place within consciousness, and everything that you are made of is being born and dying at its own rate. The skin cells on your body and the hair, it's growing at a certain rate. All of this is happening. It's pulsating with your heart, with your breathing. All of this is happening. And it all takes place within consciousness. It observes it all without being the observer. One can call it the observer, but it isn't busy observing. It has no mind. It is simply the space in which things exist, and they do exist. There's no denying their existence. And so I am, and then they're born, they're nourished, they grow and peak, they decay, and they die. And death is just subsiding into that from which they came, the self, consciousness. I'm impressed with myself because I didn't have to use this, but I recorded them all. If you want to look at that, like that's how the thoughts presented themselves to me. So if you want to pause and screenshot whatever, not my business. But that's what that was. And I feel like I've thoroughly said everything I want to say. I is the only thing that exists. Everything takes place within I, as I, but it's a particular I. There is life experience. Terence McKenna tells me that in alchemy, the mind is perceived as Mercury. And I love this demonstration because Mercury, if you like, obviously it's radii, it's toxic, don't fuck with Mercury, But if you like throw a bunch of it on the ground, it's a reflective liquid. It's basically like liquid mirror. And so if you throw it on the ground, it beads up kind of how water beads up on wax or on a leaf. And so it does that, but each one, you can see the world reflected from its own point of view. And that is exactly what birth is, as far as I can see it. Because the mind comes into existence as a reflection of the world. Consciousness comes into existence as mind and within the body and observes through the senses the world. And because of that, the world appears in consciousness and is perceived by the mind, because the mind is looking, figuring out, trying to understand there, and which is different than just witnessing, perceiving happens to be in front of my eyes. I am watching it, I am paying attention to it, I am concentrate on it. And so that's the mind. And consciousness is just this big ball of mercury, but then you throw it on the ground in all of these different patterns, and so they're all sentient, and so they interact in all these different ways, and they trade molecules, and they do this and that and this and that, and but it's all just mercury. It's all just this reflective surface. And I would also add that it's like self-luminous mercury. It has this quality to it in which it exists on its own as what it is. I've been reading I think in my last video I had just discovered him. His name's Thomas Merton. He's a Christian monk. I have since read already 101 pages of New Seeds of Contemplation. It is basically Christian Ramana Maharshi, Be As You Are, and oh my god, But yeah, so I would say that the form that you occupy, like for me, this form, Jacob, is a gift given to me by God. And there is, if I give it to my ego, my mind, and I let it do and pursue its desires, it will turn into something which it was originally never intended to be. But if I work out every day, I meditate, I take care of my body, I eat healthy, I do all these things, I give to charity, I live the life that God wants me to live, because it's very easy to see if we quit denying and being caught in our own ego. Like, it's very easy to see what God would want. Do the right thing. Be loving, kind, don't steal, don't murder. Thus is all of life. Have a good time. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Be free. Because you are already in the pure land of the Buddha. And yeah, so I think I've said everything I need to say. And so, meow! Okay, he will make one last appearance. Come here. Meow! And see, like, he is consciousness. There is a way in which he exists, and that is as cat. And not only as cat, as the cat. The epitome of all cat is him. He knows. Meow. See? Oh, I'm so sorry. He's wrong the bell. Oh my gosh. He's also killed the headphone users. I am so sorry. As I said, pure chaos. But he's so adorable. I love you. You are so cute. Okay.
he is consciousness just as much as I am consciousness. And it's so easy to see when you look in the eyes of an animal that that is just as you are. There's like, and what I say like is and are and be, there is no effort in this. And because there is no effort, there's an absolute freedom. And in that, you can see that all of us are the same. We are all that one, which deserves respect and love, and it is synonymous with God or the child of God. And it is in all of us, and it is beautiful. And it is seen especially when it is realized that form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness no other than form. And that consciousness has no particular form, but all forms take place within and as consciousness. So, without further ado, there's going to be a performance of such. What? Also, there's the Plum Village Chanting and Recitation book. Just in case you wanted it for yourself, you can buy it off Amazon. That's what I did. Boom. I'm gonna try something new. I'm a beginner at such thing. You can probably already hear what it is, but I'm a beginner at such things, especially such as performing outside of a drumline setting. And so give me some grace. I'm just basically going to be doing what I do for myself, as if you don't exist, and sharing it with you. As you can tell, that's kind of what I just do in general, because I have no other option as of this moment, but it's fine. The lo-fi quality, it's just part of the experience. Hopefully this mic quality hasn't been absolutely terrible the whole time. If it has, I'm going to be very sad, but it's okay. Sadness is observed by consciousness.